welcome to Weekend Project. I'm Laurelyn of the Mom and Pop Quilt Shop. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are going to work on a flange binding project. I'm finishing up a recently quilted wreath that we did on Long Arm Wednesday, just a couple of days ago. Check out the video if you haven't seen it soon. And I wanted to put something a little bit special on it, so I wanted to put a flanged binding. So what I have here is I chose white to go with my project, but then also chose a highlighted color in the project itself. So I could have chosen the pink and the purple, or even this wreath color itself. To me, it was a bit dark and I didn't want it to take away from the wreath itself by putting it around as a border or like a frame. So I chose the light purple that I did the bow in. So with flange binding, for a wall hanging, you can have it a little bit more narrow than you would for a quilt. That is completely up to you, what's comfortable for you, and how much of that colored flanged do you want to see, right? Most of it you just want to see just a peak, like about an eighth to a quarter at maximum. But when it comes to a quarter, I'd be doing that on a king size quilt, because you want to be able to actually see it, visually see it, maybe even up to a little bit bigger than a quarter, like maybe even a half or 3/8. So that's up to you, but you want to make sure that your end piece of binding is going to be the ideal piece that you're going to need for your project, okay? So I have two pieces cut here, and I chose some nice bright colors so you should be able to see them. And as you can see, the coral here is a little bit more pronounced than the purple. Well, that's going to be my flange, because it's going to add that little extra flair to it. As you will see here on this one, it is the white with the purple flange, okay? So this one's going to be purple with the coral flange, just to show you as an example. So what you want to do is you actually want to sew the two pieces together on the long side, and because it was the width of fabric, and I don't want to lose any of my fabric as I'm going along and sewing these strips together. And of course, you know how to calculate for finding how much binding you need. If not, there's lots of little calculators out there. You could just quickly Google it. So I wanted to pin. I pinned at the selvage and pinned at the selvage at the other end, and I pinned it a few times in between. I want to keep it as straight as possible. Okay, so let's do that, and then that's going to be our beginning part of getting our binding together. Okay, so this is really super fun and super easy, and it is a great way if you not inclined or don't want to hand stitch, or you just want to add some flair to your project. So turn my stitch down just a little bit. I had it up because I was doing some basting. And then you just want to feed it right through machine. I love my walking foot for when it comes to these sorts of things. I just find it feeds nice and even, and I don't have to worry about it. I'm trying to keep the two raw edges right together here. Okay. And I'm not trying to tug or pull or yank or anything else like that. Just keep them together. And then you're going to press to the dark. The darker side of the wall. Like I said, try to keep everything nice and even. Because sometimes if you sew two strips together, you're going to get one longer than the other, and you're like, wait a second, how'd that happen? They're both the same length. It's how it's fed into the machine, which is the more thread or fabric is being on top or underneath. It all makes a difference. Alright, so now I will put those off to the side. Now, when we press to the dark, let's move back over here. Okay. And of course, you know, really it's a hit or a miss on this one, which color is going to be the darker of the two, but I'm going to say to the purple. Okay, so we'll just press to the purple side. Okay. All right. And to make sure you're going to have your consistent flange throughout your whole project, your whole binding of your, whether it be a wall hanging, a placemat, or a monstrosity of a king-size quilt, you want to make sure it's all going to be the same and it's all going to look the same all the way around, okay? So when you get all your strips together, And you link them the same way as you would doing the other strips, okay? And I have that here so you can see, just like that. You just cross it over, make sure things are lined up, and you're whatever like you're going from your diagonal from this corner to this corner, and making sure you're that is, and also pressing that seam flat open too. It really helps with the bulk, okay? And then once you come back flat again, it's gonna look scrumdiddlyumptious. So that's how you join the pieces together as well as end it for the end of the binding. It's just like you normally would, okay? So no hard complications there. Okay, all right. And I'll show you how to do that too. Okay, we'll cut this piece so you can see it. Okay. All right, we'll just press and press. And then, like I said, to bind them, we're just going to cut this one in half so I could just show you. We'll just do this, okay? And then, of course, we're going to have this piece and this piece, and we're going to lay them right on top of each other as we would as if we were binding the strips of fabric around the project. I always like to put a couple pins in, one on either side of my sew line, and then I know I feel like I'm going to be okay on that, right? All right, and then if you need something, like it might be a little bit more for you, like this is about 2 3/4 equal end strip, you can always grab just a little ruler and go from one diagonal to the next, okay? And then that's going to be your sew line. You can also hop over and cut yourself off a little bit too, okay? But here, let's show how to do that. Now, when you go and flip this back open, oh, that was a little bit bad on that side. Okay, but you wanna do better. So let's get the seam ripper out, and let's try this again. I did something wrong here. Okay, so let's get the seam ripper out. Okay, that's all right. It's no big deal. Okay. Okay, let's lay this flat. It's nice and flat. Feel free to iron. Okay, pull those threads out. Line this back up again. Try and be just a little bit better this time. Okay, just a little bit better. We can try and put a pin in where we think we're gonna stitch, and then we can always kind of do like a little flip. It looks like it would be a little bit better the second time around, but all we could do is hope. So, but I do like having a line. Let's see if that one's going to work any better. How can it always work so perfectly off off camera? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, there we go. See? Taking the second attempt. Looks so much better. Okay, almost, actually it is pretty bang on, I would say. Okay, so now we're happy with that one. Now we can hop over here and take that other seam down and save that for the half square triangle final. Okay. Just get our little scissors and then chop that off. Goes into the keep pile, press it open, keep it. And then this becomes your binding. So now what you want to do from here, let's go back to the table, is you're going to want to press like you would a normal binding, okay? So you're going to put your raw edges together, and you're going to have that little bit of flange color popping up to say hello and just accent your quilt fantastically, Okay, so now what I like to do, you're going to put the flange color down onto the quilt when you're quilting on the back. So here's our little wall hanging that we were working on. Okay, so when it comes to laying it face down, and then you're gonna, okay, it's like face down. And because this is the flange, you want it facing up towards you. Okay, and then this is your binding that's going to be completely all the way around your quilt. So you want to have that flange hanging up next to you. So again, it would be here if it was the choice. It would be this side down, and then when we flip to the other side, like this, it's that purple and that, or a coral color that's going to pop out, okay? And then what we get to do from here is just stitch down. Most people either just stitch in the ditch right there next to it over on this side, and because I'm using white thread, I am just going to stitch right there, okay? So here's hopefully you didn't miss that on the, I did get it on the camera. So there's the coral flange. You want to put it that side down up towards you, and then when you flip over, that you're going to see that beautiful little pop of color. Okay. So easy, and it's such a lovely way to finish off a quilt, right? And then when you're doing that little decorative, you can do a decorative stitch using a variegated thread or what have you, or even just hand stitching it would also add a very nice effect to it. And then same when you're coming to the corners, you're just going to do like you normally would do. You want to lay it flat, make it point out, and then lay this one up over top, and then you're going to get yourself a nice pretty little corner right there. Okay, so just make sure you stitch in there and then stopping and then coming back here. If you have to get up off, like get the foot up and the needle out, make sure you do that. Do a little back stitch and then come back in and line it up properly and do your stitch, and then just keep on trucking. That is an amazing flange project, let me tell you. Okay, it's going to be so cute. Just so all the way around. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you will add a flange to your next project and give it that little flair and something special, and definitely an easy way to do it. So like you say, if you want a 3-inch binding on a quilt, you're going to want to like have 1 3/4 inch of one fabric and then a little bit more of the other, or sorry, that would be your flange, and then a little bit. Your flange wants to be 1/4 inch bigger than the other piece. Okay, hopefully that helps. Hope I didn't confuse anybody. Take care, everybody. Big hugs to you, and we'll see you soon. Looks amazing, though.